Bog Panda.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bog Panda. I about said other words there. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. And as long as you guys are watching, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, pick up some merchandise, leave another comment. Multiple comments are fine. That's definitely allowed. And I would say welcomed and appreciated.
Yeah, 2-for-1 sale on comments. So just deep discounts for that second comment. So, well, we've talked about this for a little while, made noises we were going to do it. We've had several episodes where we have visited pinball, playing online pinball, video pinball on a couple platforms. Dr. Mike has a fine setup with his At Games Legends Mini, where you can rotate his screen to vertical position and do that. And then I use my At Games Legends core and project it, and can have a pretty good play field on that. And those have been good. Plus, we've talked about some other options as well. But through that process, I talked about, and this kind of came into, am I going to get the At Games pinball game or not? Still thinking about it, but I have been just so impressed and enjoyed the wonder that is the Oculus Quest 2, in particular Star Wars Pinball. And so, because we never stop working for you at Bog Panda, 7x24, I recorded some video of gameplay and sent it to Mike. He's had maybe could have given him a little more time to review it, but he got it. And so he got a chance to kind of look through it. And we're just going to kind of step through that experience. And part of the show, Mike said he had a lot of questions, so that's good. And we'll kind of do that. So we're talking video pinball today through the Oculus Quest.
So my first question, since you already brought up, you sent me this video before recording this. How did you capture that video?
So super easy, barely an inconvenience. Very, very easy to go movie pitch guy. Within the Quest itself, there's a sharing option. So you can cast it to like a Chromecast, so other people in the room can see what you're seeing when you awkwardly position your body doing VR things. And they get a little better sense of what's going on. But another cast or share option is record. So there's basically a built-in record button on the Quest. And this comes into kind of one of the kind of interesting challenges and why this took a while to do. I sent Mike 2 videos. One of them, the video is kind of almost more of a square in terms of the dimensions of it. And that's the default. That's what you're going to get if you just go in and you go to share and you say start recording. And that's what you're going to get. I also sent him another one that was basically full screen, and we'll be kind of playing the different videos for different parts of this so you can get a sense of what we're talking about. But the other one was full screen. And for that, it took a little more work. There's a product called Sidekick, which is software you download onto your computer. And it allows you to try a bunch of beta software, just kind of go in and try. People are putting out different games. So these aren't like in the official Quest store, but they're ones you can get loaded onto your headset and play. There's some just free, totally ready to go games. There's multiple Doom ports there that I'm working to get one of those, because I think that's going to be pretty fun to try out. But it's a platform to kind of let you get to a bunch of additional VR experiences. And in addition, other capabilities with your headset. So I had to go in, download SideQuest, and I think I called it Sidekick earlier, SideQuest. Downloaded SideQuest. I then also went in and had to set up a developer account, which was pretty straightforward to do. And then I could go in and actually start to change the configuration of the video. So that's what I did. So I went to the full screen, better frame rate, better resolution, and all that stuff. So you'll see a difference between the two, which is awesome. The down part is, unfortunately, the big video you've got, Mike, the big one I shared with you, I recorded first, not planning well, and the batteries in my controllers went south by the end of the session. So it all kind of locked up. I had to reboot the Quest and get all these things going. Those video settings I changed are not persistent. So I just went and recorded the second one and was like, oh, darn it. But I wasn't going to do it again. So I have to basically go over and kind of connect my headset to the computer each time if I want to get that full screen. The other one's not bad. I mean, it's not bad depending on what you're trying to capture, but to kind of really get the experience, I think the full screen's much better.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see because you had kind of explained it to me. You explained it really well, finally seeing it. But really cool to see. Seems like a really interesting, very obviously immersive experience. Um, I guess my first question about the game itself, though, is before you even get to the table, you're in sort of this room. And do you want to kind of explain the room?
Yeah, it becomes your trophy room and a chance to do some personalization. So you kind of come in. There's a jukebox, and based on your performance in the games and the total number of points you're gathering and all those, you earn different kind of awards and level ups and all that. And it might be, hey, you've won a new song to add to the jukebox, and then you go over the jukebox and interact with it and actually put on the Imperial March or the Cantina song or something like that. So there's a jukebox in there. There's a lot of places for posters, which are things you get over time as well. You can put up the different posters you want to. There's a trophy shelf, which has a lot, and you eventually earn different vehicles. And so you get an AT-AT and a chicken walker and all those kinds of things you can add there. A carousel full of helmets, Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, all those types of things you can add as well. And then kind of the kind of main menu section is a big screen TV area where you can go in and do some other options and continue to either try and build light side points or dark side points. And then unfortunately you can't interact with it, but parked right outside the sliding glass door by your big screen TV is an ATST that is just sitting out there parked. And so it's kind of cool. So it's a pretty cool environment. And then of course in the middle of the room, or kind of in a prominent position, is the pinball table that you basically move over to. And then once you get there, you have a number of selections and different tables you can play.
Yeah, it was really cool kind of seeing the environment. And I was wondering how interactive that environment is.
Yeah, a lot of the super cool stuff isn't. Is like there's a speeder, a bike speeder that's in there that you can't even sit on, unfortunately. But you can, can basically interaction, or you can spin the carousel. It's got the different helmets on it. You can play the jukebox. You can change the posters. You can change the statues that are there. But the main, when you're actually gameplay interaction or any other type of thing, you can't really kind of rearrange the room, but you just could go over to the pinball table and you can kind of pick whatever you want to.
Very nice. Still really cool.
Yeah, it is. And that's, so I hope this gives you a little better illustration where I'm saying, am I going to have the same quality of gameplay when I go to a flat screen that's laid down to kind of play to simulate a pinball table, which still looks really good, still looks like that great resolution, but versus this really immersive environment. However, what I would not miss if I would go the At Games Legends pinball route is I really could live without the people that stand beside the table as you're playing, because you got company when you're playing the game, and it could be Luke Skywalker, it could be Darth Vader, it could be Krennic, Han Solo, so it could be a lot of folks from there, and they kind of move around on occasion. Stormtroopers occasionally fire some shots off, which can be a little disturbing as you're trying to play the game. And you'll actually even get ships that'll kind of cross the top of the gameplay as well.
Yeah, I did notice that the other characters in the room. Personally, I do think I would find that distracting as I was playing.
Yeah, it can be. It's not as bad. I've got a second pinball experience on the Quest where that includes a zombie game, and in that game, it's a Walking Dead themed one, but it's more the gaming world Walking Dead versus the TV series or the comic book. But that one will put one of the characters on one side and a zombie on the other. And the zombie on occasion kind of tries to reach over the machine to get to the other person. Super distracting. Although, gunfire to either laser fire to either side is a little bit distracting too. So that would be a pretty great option to be able to kind of toggle that off to say, hey, like, you know, I know you're trying to add to the ambiance and everything, but how about you let me shut those guys down and just let me
Just
play
play some
pinball.
pinball. Yeah. Now, what's the control situation for that like?
Funny you should mention that. I happen to have a controller right here with no editing involved. And so this is a controller situation. There's two of these, right-handed one, left-handed one. Um, this is basically the way you're going to hold it. There's a trigger up front here, and there's another trigger here on the side. A lot of times for a lot of the games, this is a grip. So like if you're reaching and trying to grab something, you pull in that trigger. And then this is more like your typical trigger. So you might be gripping the gun down here and then pulling the trigger up here. For pinball, this is your flipper button. This here, this little guy on the side, that's your tilt. That's your, you want to kind of jostle it. Which, given the fact I get into the game a little bit and get a little bit grabby, I'll hit the trigger and that at the same point. And so I start to give the machine a lot of really hard shakes, which is not a good idea. So a lot of times when I play it, I actually kind of hold it like I'm showing here. I actually let the controller dangle down so that all I can really hit is the flipper button, because I don't use a lot of English on there. And if I need to, I can still get down to it. But I've done this just so I don't accidentally tilt the machine out. But this is basically it. This is my left flipper button, right flipper button. So I have one for each hand, and I just go from there. And with the Quest, you can set a boundary so you don't run into stuff in the room. So if you're standing, you can kind of create a large boundary. You can also do what's called a stationary boundary, which is how I play pinball. So I'm just basically sitting down on a couch. I say use the stationary boundary, and it just kind of puts a circle around me on the couch. And I'll just sit there on the couch, and away I go.
Very nice. Now, I noticed, not to get off of pinball, but just in general with Quest, did I see a Netflix thing in the menu?
You did. So I can watch Netflix movies, Amazon Prime. It's actually not a bad way to go. So and I'd had some early versions of the Oculus as well. And so it's kind of like having a big screen. So basically you've got that on there in its projection, but it's not for like Netflix. It's still 2D. But you're just like watching on a big screen, or what we perceive as a big screen. It gets a little disorienting because the virtual world it paints for you, you can look left and right, and you'll like see the room around you, and you can see you're sitting on a couch and there's a coffee table in front of you. You need to continue to remember those aren't real. those are part of the fake world. And so if you're doing that and you're like, oh, let me just kind of put my hand down here on the couch to push up, there might not be couch there, depending on what your setup is. Or I'm going to set something on this end table. There may not be an end table there unless that's physically there. They have actually added a beta software thing, which allows you for those environments to actually draw a line around your actual couch. So it renders out the couch where your couch is at, so you don't kind of get as disoriented, which I think is a fantastic addition, having kind of caught myself a couple times there. But yeah, there's Netflix, there's Amazon Prime. There's also VR experiences in Prime that would become more of a 360 kind of thing. But like if it was just, I want to watch some Walking Dead or Breaking Bad on Netflix, it would be like watching it on a really, really big screen in a fake virtual room. That's very nice, but it's a fake room.
Very interesting. Yeah, I would be really curious to see that and kind of experience that and see how that is. I've been Oculus curious for a while. So
yeah, it's like, I think $3.99 is, I think, kind of the going street rate for Oculus Quest 2, which, compared to some of the things that we talk about, it's not way out of line,
right,
in terms of that. And it is pretty cool. The time you can kind of just spend on YouTube, they've got some immersive 360 environments where you can, get on a gondola and kind of cruise through Venice, do this kind of Salvador Dali, walk through Salvador Dali exhibits, sort of, like in his paintings and all that. I mentioned that, I think, before on one of our shows. Might have been Nurture and Support, but because Dolly had done some stuff with Alice Cooper. A version of his hologram of Alice is actually in that experience. So that was actually pretty cool to run across Alice in the Dolly world. And so it was good. But yeah, I find the play really good, because they do take full advantage of, hey, the laws of physics are good and right in terms of the pinball play in general with the flipper and all the types of things going on. But then there's like some next level stuff and I tried to point you to in the one video where you bring Darth Vader in and you kind of hit the ramp and all physics are applying as appropriate until the ball goes up towards Vader, and then he kind of catches it with the force and crushes the ball, and you get points for that. But obviously you can't pull that off real world, but it's a really cool thing to do. And so there are some kind of cool little add-ons they do that happen above the play field or interactions there. But by and large, I mean, the play is pretty realistic, I think, in terms of pinball. And you're just, your whole field of vision's there. Like I said, as you mentioned, and I'm not a huge fan of, I just assume not have company while I'm playing. I know it was kind of viewed as a pretty cool add-on, but you come with, and they seem to be juggling a little bit how many tables are available. But it's around 8 or 9 tables of Mandalorian, and one that's kind of themed to Rogue One, the trilogies, and all kinds of good stuff.
Very nice. Yeah, it seems really cool. Is there other pinball experiences that are available other than Star Wars and Walking Dead, which you already mentioned?
Yeah, there are. And the other one I have is Pinball FX2 VR. So I'll edit this part out here. I'm gonna have to drop it in because I don't remember the name of it. I've got another package, but I'm gonna have to drop that one in. So you just have to trust me on that one. But yeah, it was another nice addition because, as I mentioned before, it was the one that had the Walking Dead theme table, and then it has one that's kind of more of a medieval themes and an underwater one. And so you can get a wide variety of tables. So there are several options out there. The Star Wars one and the other one that I clearly mentioned by name are two of the real big front runners. And so I think either one of those are good. But yeah, you're not just locked into Star Wars Pinball. There are other options. And we haven't seen our friends from Gottlieb or the folks that did the Taito and the other set, the ONAC games. I haven't seen them show up yet. That would be awesome if they do. But as of right now, it seems to be tables that are geared towards, tables built explicitly for VR.
Interesting. I mean, I assume when you're in those other table packs, the environment changes as well.
Yeah, it's the same basic idea. A lot more scaled down for the other one because it's just a little bit more of a creative way to do a carousel to select games. The other pinball game I have will basically allow me to have three tables set up, and I can swap out what those 3 tables are. And then I just move in the room to one of the 3 versus in the Star Wars situation, it's one table and you go to it. And then you get a menu to kind of say what's going to show up down below. But it's the same basic idea, except there's really not nearly the level of kind of Easter eggs and good, there's no big Jabba the Hutt sitting in the corner under the staircase in the other environment. But I mean, it's another virtual environment. You're walking through it to get to the pinball games. But it's much more of a menuing system than an addition to the experience.
Very nice. I mean, it's one of the things that definitely intrigues me about it is kind of the environment and the things that could potentially do with that moving forward with things, especially when I think of like pinball tables, I think of like bars and things like that. Like, It'd be cool to have like an old rundown bar kind of environment.
Yeah, I think that'd be, and you can have mall arcade.
An arcade, yeah.
And that'd be kind of make the real world kind of deal. When you played your pinball as a young Mike, where was your primary location?
Bars.
Where did you go? Bars?
Yeah.
So
bars are a big one.
Being the more wholesome of the 2 hosts, I would go to the Southside Soda Shop, as featured on Guy Fieri's Diners, Dives, and Dives. The Southside Soda Shop used to have. You come into it. It was ice cream place and kind of a, grab lunch there too. And then they just basically had a little room off the back. They had one pinball machine sitting in there, and that's typically where I go down and play.
Now, my typical so arcades, I did go to a lot of arcades as a kid, but when I was a kid, the arcades really didn't have a lot of pinball options. It was more like arcade cabinets in the arcades. And I would play local places too. Like there was a toy store near my grandparents that sold cigarettes and had a couple arcade machines up in the front, so you could get a pack of smokes as a kid and go and
Play some pinball.
play Mortal Kombat and things like that.
Yeah.
There would be like cigarette burns on the Mortal Kombat cabinet.
Yeah, there's and so the Holiday Inn in the town I grew in had a kind of a game room off of they had a pool, and then that's the game room off the pool, and so it was loaded with Dragon's Lair was there, lots of arcades, but it would usually have a bank of about 3 pinball machines.
Okay.
One of which the top glass became loose on. And allegedly some individuals slid that glass back and just went ding 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 ding, ding and ran up a large number of free games.
Nice.
Till the Holiday Inn police busted us. busted the alleged people doing this.
The alleged offenders you saw from a distance.
Yeah. That was the worst lookout ever for that.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of pinball tables. So like when I would the bigger arcades, because arcades were popular around here. So in Philadelphia, not actually in Philadelphia, but people think it is, there's a mall that used to be called Franklin Mills. And at one time, Franklin Mills was the biggest mall in America or something like that for a brief period. That was its claim to fame. It's not actually in Philadelphia. A little piece of it is. It's mostly in a county called Bensalem. They've changed the name of it now because it went from like a big tourist attraction to like where you'd go if you wanted to get shot. That was the direction that Franklin Mills went. So they've changed the name of it now. But at one time when it first opened and it was, the biggest mall or whatever its claim to fame was, they had like a 3-story arcade in there. And that had some pinball tables, but still it was really focused on cabinets.
Sure.
So for me, at least around here, to see like actual pinball tables or any sort of selection on that, other than the 1 or 2 arcades would just be like whatever the latest movie tie-in game would be or something like that. If you really wanted a selection, you had to go to bars or like restaurants that had a bar attached to it, and they would always have pinball tables there. So that is actually where I play most of my pinball as a kid.
Not a shocking revelation.
Yeah.
Well,
when I wasn't smoking and playing Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. When you needed a break, clear the lungs out a little bit.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, we wanted to just kind of share a little bit. If you happen to have a Quest 2 and you haven't kind of grabbed Star Wars Pinball, you absolutely need to. It's worth taking a look. Virtual pinball is it's a pretty cool way. Would be interested for the folks watching this to kind of have them sound off a little bit to say what is their preferred method. Is it more the idea of kind of playing it still more like in the At Games Legends environment or At Games Pinball or other kind of dedicated simulated digital pinball machines? Is it online through PC, kind of doing one of those things, through Steam, those types of things, or does this VR thing kind of trip your trigger? What's your preferred way to play some pinball digitally? And then let us know where you played your pinball too. That would be kind of cool to hear. Anything else for this week, sir?
No, nothing else to add to it. It's really cool. I'm looking forward to eventually picking up an Oculus. I'm much closer now seeing this, and also there was a Resident Evil game that was recently released for it. So those two things are pushing me a lot closer from the curious to experimental phase.
Yeah, we may do one more Quest 1. I might give you a little sneak peek into Vader Immortal, which was a pretty fun series of things that we went through and kind of played all those. So another Star Wars universe thing, but a whole different deal. And it's not playing pinball, I'll tell you that. So it's a whole different deal. But yeah, we might do a little more. Let us know in the comments if this is the kind of content you want, or you say stick to your retro games, buddy. Whatever you want us to do, we're very open to hearing on it. So thanks again for the folks that have watched. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, everybody.